Hello, my wonderful friends. Megas with you on a beautiful day in the library. I've got my hot cocoa and marshmallows and a good book. So maybe settle in and I'll share this wonderful story, which is somewhat of a true story. It's Tinkum's Wilderness Adventure. And there's my dog Tinkum. And she really is a wild dog. And it's kind of cute. A lot of the children in the neighborhood here have this book and their parents read it to them every night as they go to bed. And so when they see Tinkum out on a walk, they get really excited, like they spotted a superstar. Tinkum's day started as ordinary as usual when her owner poured her a bowl of steak kibble. She does not care for it. She would rather have a real steak. She took a few bites and left the rest for her sister because she will eat anything. Her owner slipped on his shoes, patted Tinkum and her sister on the head and said, "Bye, girls. Don't get into any trouble while I'm gone." Then he closed the door behind him. Tinkum waited for the sound of the door to lock and the jingle of the keys to disappear. She then hopped up on the counter looking for something else to eat. Suddenly, she was hit with a breeze of fresh mountain air coming in through the window. The window! Tinkum was overcome with excitement. Her owner never leaves the window open. This was her chance to get out of the house and run free through the forest like a wild dog. She was so tired of doing the same thing every day. She looked to her sister to see if she wanted to join, but she was already fast asleep in her bed. With that, Tinkum hopped out of the window and ran into the meadow. She was free to run and free to do whatever she pleased. No owner, no sister, and best of all, no leash. Tinkum took off running, her little orange bow flapping in the wind as the mountain breeze rushed through her jet black fur. She felt alive. Nothing could stop her. Boom, crash, splash. Tinkum took a rolling tumble into the creek. She forgot that her owner usually carries her over it. She swims and swims, trying to get out of the creek, but it seems that she's getting farther and farther from her destination. The creek is moving. Oh no, what is she going to do? She feels a sudden tug on her bow and realizes she is caught on a branch. Snap! The branch broke and is now stuck in her hair. As she is quickly rushing down the creek, she tries to swim towards the shore when she is suddenly pulled from the creek. Tinkum shakes off all the water. She looks around trying to figure out what happened and is faced with a large cat. It does not look like a cat. Wait, owner told her about them coming around the house, but what did he call them? A raccoon. A raccoon saved her from the creek. She gave a little ruff to say thank you, but the raccoon took off running, and Tinkum took off running after her. She followed the raccoon into a small den with 5 sleeping raccoons. They woke up but did not seem to mind her being there. Maybe she looked like a raccoon to them, even with an orange lopsided bow dangling from her fur. Tinkum was very tired from all the swimming and running, so she thought she would take just a short nap. When she woke up, she could not see much, but she could hear all the raccoons leaving the den. She followed them. Tinkum could not believe her eyes. It was dark. She must have slept all day. She could see a little in the dark, but not well enough to get her back across the creek. She continued to follow the raccoons. Where they could be going, how could they see so well? They suddenly stopped, and she could hear twigs snapping and the munching of berries. Why are they eating in the dark? She remembered her owner saying, "The raccoons come out at night because they are nocturnal animals. They sleep all day and eat all night, kind of like your sister." As he laughed and patted Princess on her belly. Tinkum was pulled out of thought when she heard all the raccoons scamper away. Where are they going? Out of nowhere, she was tackled to the ground. What is going on? She looked up and saw a large puppy staring back at her, ready to play. She hopped to her feet, took off running. The pup followed her. The pup was amazingly fast. He tackled Tinkum to the ground again. This time, the pup took off running and Tinkum followed, determined to tackle him back. She ran and could finally see the pup again. She had him now. She took a big leap towards the pup, but missed and instead hit the ground. When Tinkum opened her eyes, she saw 3 pups standing around her. She stood up and shook it off. As she looked around, she realized the pups were wolves staring right back at her. They suddenly turned around and started howling. Soon more wolves joined in and started howling. It seemed like they were talking to each other. As they howled, you could hear a faint howl in the distance. Tinkum realized they were not talking to each other, but they were calling a lost pup home. She missed her home. She was ready to go back to her comfy bed. She gave a small howl goodbye and took off into the forest. Tinkum took off running into the forest once again, but soon realized she did not know where she was going. She looked around but could not see anything but tall green trees and meadow grass. She ran around looking for anything familiar, but again, nothing. Tinkum was lost. She was tired, hungry, and scared. She decided to lie down in the grass and hope her owner would come find her. She could not be too far from home, could she? Maybe in the morning she could find her way back. Thunk, thunk. Tinkum was unexpectedly awakened by the tallest animal she had ever seen, blocking out the morning sun. It was a moose. Owner told her about them. He called them the gentle giants of the forest. They are incredibly wise and strong. Maybe he could help her find the way home. With much hope, Tinkum followed the moose. As she walked close behind him, she noticed the large antlers on top of his head. The moose used them to protect themselves from other large animals. Tinkum felt much safer. Tinkum and the moose had come to a stop. She stepped around the moose to see if she was home. Instead, there was a small, beautiful pond filled with lily pads and lined with cattails, surrounded by many different forest animals. She approached the water to get a drink. It seemed her and the moose had been walking for hours, but he did not seem bothered. As Tinkham looked up from across the pond, she noticed a familiar face. The deer. It is the deer her owner feeds in the meadow every day. Tinkham thanked the moose for all the help, jumped into the pond, and swam as fast as she could to the other side. As she walked up onto the bank of the pond, she shook off the water, not realizing how close the deer was, and soaked it. The deer did not seem as happy to see her. Tinkham and the deer left the pond and headed off. As she followed the deer home, she could not stop thinking about seeing her owner, her sister, and her home she missed so much. After eating sticks and berries, she would never complain about her dog food again. Tinkham and the deer came to a sudden stop. She could hear the slow running water of the creek. She did not know if she could go through that again, but the deer started to cross. She followed, not wanting to be left behind. She was shocked when she saw how the deer got across. There was a bridge. If only she had known that yesterday. They crossed the bridge and wandered into the meadow. Tinkham was so ready to be home, she took off running once again as fast as her legs would take her. As the house came into sight, she ran even faster. Home! She could see her owner walking her sister. She let out a small howl and leaped into her owner's arms. Her owner took Tinkham and her sister inside. He picked through Tinkham's fur, pulling out twigs and stickers. He said, "What on earth did you do out there to get so dirty?" Tinkham let out a little rough, and he laughed. As Tinkham laid in her bed, bathed and brushed, she thought of all the fun she had playing in the woods. She thought of all the different animals she met and what she learned about them. It really was a grand wilderness adventure, but nothing is better than her same old family. The end. Tinkham's Wilderness Adventure. Love you guys.